Last year in June, I got this, and this is the OBSBOT Tiny. It's a webcam, and it's a webcam that can actually track you. So it has a tilt and point access where you can actually use the software, you just put your hand up and it follows you around. Because it can track you, it's really good for musicians. So if you're moving around, it'll actually track you and move around. Now, it's not actually plugged in at the moment, and the reason for that is because we've got this one. This is the 4K version. So it looks exactly the same, except it's got a red circle around the outside. And what this does is exactly the same thing. It tracks you. Now, I've already told it to start tracking me, so as I sort of move around, I'm sitting down, by the way, I'm not just hovering, but as I move around, and even as I stand up, it should basically just be able to track me, and it can track me wherever I go. And as I move around the room, it's going to be able to track me, no problem. Obviously, we've got a big speaker here, so that's kind of in the way. But the idea behind this is so we can actually use it as a secondary camera for performance use. And of course, with being 4K, it's 4 times the image of this one. Also, it's a webcam, which means that you can plug it into any PC or Mac and it'll work. It has software that comes with it, which you can actually use to control this. You can change the coloring slightly, and you can change a couple of things. So at the moment, if I was to basically put my hand up, and it's flashing blue at the moment, and I walk away, it will not track me, it'll stay where it is. Whereas I put my hand up again, it will track me. I apologize for the next bit, because what it's going to do is it's going to zoom in. So if I actually do this, it'll start zooming in automatically, and then it's zooming in on my face, hello. And of course, 4K, you can see all of my face, and then we'll do this again, and it will zoom back out again. So why have we got this? Well, I actually asked OBSBOT for the new updated version because I wanted to see what it looked like, but also at the same time, I wanted to see if there was any other improvements. As I was walking around the room in the last one, it made it a little bit jolty. Also, I think they've had an upgrade to the microphones as well, but it's just for the sheer 4K capability. And that's not the only thing they sent me as well. This is the OBSBOT Meet 4K. Now this one's actually called a stream camera. And again, this one is 4K, of course. So you can see the red ring that indicates it's a 4K camera for them. And it even has this little flap down there. So it's a privacy flap. So there we go, it's up and running. But this is flat. And the idea behind this is that you actually put this somewhere with this little stand. This stand is actually a little thing that you can open up. If I open it up like that, and you can put that on the back of your laptop or your iMac or something like that, and you can literally just do that. And it's a really strong magnet, so you can move it anywhere on that plate and put it wherever you like. So it has this sort of Z connection, so we can put that there, have that, so that's holding on the back of your laptop. But what's the difference between this? Well, this is actually a really, really wide camera, but what it can do is with the software that's on the Mac, it can track you without having to move. A little bit like Apple's center stage, this is a really wide camera, and then what this does, as I say, it uses the software to track you. So if I bring up the Meet Cam software, I can actually do it where it tracks across. So we've got the software up, and you can see I'm just here, hi, just peeping out the corner of the software. But what I need to do is go into auto framing, and if I just click this, the camera's not moving at all. It's actually just reframing that really wide 86 degrees. So if I start moving around, it will actually just follow me, and it's following, and it follows quite fast. It's really, really quite good. Again, this is something that's really, really quite useful. You could have it just, maybe it's not quite wrangled right, and you can just move across, or maybe you've got your laptop in a really awkward position, and then you want to actually have yourself framed. So these two cameras have a couple of different use cases. The first one is the Meet, and this one is really just for hanging on top of your laptop or onto your desktop and just give you a better camera than the one that your computer came with. But at the same time, you're getting this really cool auto framing technology, and it means that basically you can just use it straight away. If someone else came into the frame, it auto frames 2 people, which is really clever. You can tell it to do a couple of different things. So you can say go to close up or just go to upper body. It gives it a little bit more framing, which is cool. And you can even do things like virtual backgrounds as well and replace it. So if you've got a virtual background on, and you can see you've done that now, so it's kind of covered round. The camera's turned over to a blue, it's got a little blue screen, as if to say that's the virtual one. If we turn that off, it goes back to white. So you know yourself it's got a virtual background on there. We've now moved back over to the OBSBOT Tiny, which is the main one I'm interested in really, because we can do a couple of things. Like for example, we can have preset locations. So if I click on this, I had this really high up, so it's going to look a bit odd. But if I click on this, it will move around, and you can see it moves around to a specific location. Or if I press the preset, it can zoom in on that location as well. I actually had it higher up in a different location, and I can just go reset, and it'll move back and it'll zoom back out again. There we go. The other thing you can do as well is there's loads of different settings here. So we've got things like gesture controls. You've got what the tracking is standard or headroom, or it's even in a motion mode. So if you want to capture something a little bit quicker. So the question is, should you get these? Well, if your camera is below 1080, then yes, these are 4K and they've got a really good sensor on them. Plus this one can crop the image and make it look like it's tracking you. And this one actually does track you without cropping the image because of course it can physically move on its axis. Certainly for musicians who are live streaming at home, this is a must, I think, because this can keep you in frame without losing quality. It's nowhere near the quality of a digital SLR, but at the same time, if you're outputting at 720p but you've got a 4K sensor, it'll look great. The other thing as well is that they do actually both have a privacy. So you can see this one here has got a little thing that you just close down. To actually put this in privacy, you just tilt it down and it actually switches off. It goes into sleep mode. I just want to thank OBSBOT for sending these two out for me. This one is definitely going to be in my system. I'm going to be putting it on my filming rack. And if you haven't seen my filming rack and everything I've got set up around here, have a look at this video. Yeah.